What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Average Joe's X and Those podcast. Max and Nick here with you. And we got a lot to talk about today because unfortunately, when I was in town last week, we couldn't meet up. Partially because I lost like 2 days due to that fucking snowstorm I flew into.
Yeah, well, thanks for bringing that from Arizona, all that fucking snow, dude. Thanks.
I mean, listen, I brought a little bit of the warm weather when it was 40 degrees on Wednesday, and then it said, that's it. That's all you get. And then it dropped down.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen snow like that in many years since I moved out here, basically. So glad I could be there for it. But it wasn't.
You got your dose of it.
Luckily,
you got your full dose of it.
Luckily, Roger had a snowblower for his driveway. Dude, I drank a lot of alcohol this week, unfortunately, and was hungover at the service. I don't advise anybody to do that because it's rough. Being hungover at a fucking funeral. But we made it and it all worked out. So it was, kind of good to be home. Got to see majority of people. So yeah, I mean, I guess I won't tell you on the recording. I'll tell you afterwards. I probably should bring that up. But there could be a reason why the next time I visit, someone might be getting married. So which you can probably think about who that might be. But anywho, okay. Yeah, man, it was a good time. Always good to go home and kind of visit the peeps and see what's up. Usually it just ends in a shit show because when it's cold and snowy like that, that's why the Midwest, they drink. You literally, there's nothing to do. Can't go anywhere. So it's like, fuck it, you might as well just drink alcohol.
Yeah, well, plus it keeps you warm, right? Get the alcohol blanket going.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we got a lot to recap. Since we couldn't do an episode last week, we got to recap the championship games, AFC and NFC championship games, which ended up pretty wild. There is a person out there who let me read it. I didn't win shit in my bets, so they're not for parlays bit me. It's I came really close on one of the games, actually kind of both because I tried to bet on the correct score. But somebody out there is living pretty nicely. They bet the correct score on both games. They literally picked the Bengals 27, Chiefs 24, which was plus 22,000. And then they hit on the Rams and 49ers 20-17, which was plus 13,000. And they bet $20 to win $579,020. So whoever that is probably partied their ass off after those games. I just thought it was pretty impressive because it's really hard to do, right? But yeah, man, let's break down these games, dude. First, we can start with that first game, which was Kansas City and the Bengals. And dude, one of the bets I had, I was kind of salty about. I thought it was for sure thing. Actually, two of those bets in this game. The one was Patrick Mahomes had 2 touchdown passes in each half. After the first half, I'm like, dude, I got it. Easy payout, easy win. And then he didn't do shit in the second half. And then I just needed Joe Mixon to score. If Joe Mixon would have scored, I would have probably won like $400 on my bets. And he didn't. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, that was brutal because I think that was one of the ones that I said like as a pick. Like, oh yeah, Joe Mixon for a touchdown. But that game
wasn't the only one though. A lot of people picked him, I think.
Yeah, that game was wild though, man.
Dude, it was like one of those things where, Cincinnati got that momentum after that fumble. But it's also one of those games where, I mean, it kind of takes away from the Bengals a little bit when I say this, but I just feel like the Chiefs are the ones that lost that game. I mean,
they
were able to do whatever
they are.
Yeah, they were able to do anything they fucking wanted in that first half.
Yeah, it was Cincinnati came out and made some adjustments. It was a lot of rush 3, 8 in a coverage, different looks. But the key was that they were able to, even when they were just rushing 3, they were able to get pressure on Mahomes. And when they did get to him, they were actually able to sack him.
Yeah.
Which was a completely different ball game than the week before that we saw when Buffalo played them. You got to him, but you just never weren't able to take him down. So that was the biggest difference there. But they made some good adjustments in the second half. Actually very similar schematically, coverage wise to some of the things the Bills did the week prior, that were successful. and really relying on your safeties to, essentially slice crosser routes and do some things there. So it was pretty. It was, I mean, the defense stepped up. I would say, out of the most surprising things I saw this weekend, the fact that Cincinnati's defense was able to do that in the second half of that game was probably the most surprising out of those games. So
yeah, it's pretty wild, man.
Oh yeah,
like, there's got to be a guy out there, and we'll find out like if the Bengals win the Super Bowl, but there's got to be somebody out there I put money on Cincinnati just because of the odds, like before the season started, not thinking they'd win. And there's, even if it's just to get the Super Bowl and or win, I want to see what that payout is because it's probably fucking massive.
Yeah, we'll preview the Super Bowl game, and I've got my thoughts on it. But that was one of the things that just when the Bengals needed plays offensively, they were able to find it. Granted, the Kansas City defense isn't necessarily the strongest defense in the world, but they made adjustments in both offensively and defensively in the second half, and they were able to exploit some things. And I think Joe Burrow, showed some poise and showed some maturity as a second year player, and ultimately he didn't do anything that cost him the game. And that's where a player of Mahomes' caliber, you'd like to see him not make those mistakes, right? And I think that was the biggest issue was Mahomes forced a lot of, Cincinnati did their due diligence on defense, but Mahomes also forced a lot of plays, and that ultimately ended up being the deciding factor there. You can't, like, really what it boiled down. Cincinnati tried to make them run the football and they couldn't do it. They got in their own way and couldn't successfully run the football. So, when you run the football efficiently, you can force defenses out of certain looks, and they just weren't able to commit to it, and I think that was ultimately what cost them at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I'm still kind of speechless, man. It's just crazy because I didn't see the Bengals going. And if you're a fan of the Browns, like I am, unfortunately, it makes you wonder. It's like, dude, if the Browns can't win a division right now with the team they have, before they got to pay everybody, I don't think they're ever going to win it because Cincinnati is only going to continue to get better as they build that offensive line, right? So they're going to be at the top of as long as Burrow and Chase are there, man, it's going to be like this for the next freaking decade. The Ravens are going to bounce back. They were pretty banged up this year. And the Steelers, who even in the last 2 years where they were their worst teams, they still managed to never have a losing season under Tomlin. So if they get a quarterback that's, doesn't have to be anything great, but, better than an old Roethlisberger, I mean, they're going to be fighting for the playoffs too. So the division is stacked. But yeah, if you're a Browns fan, man, I'd be a little nervous, man, because we just can't ever be fucking good.
Yeah. It adds a new element of pressure.
Yeah.
But the division might look a little different now. Like you said, and you alluded to with the Steelers and Big Ben, so
right.
We'll see.
But yeah, so that game was probably the most surprising. I mean, I think for the next game, everybody probably suspected that the Rams would win, but since San Francisco almost fucking pulled it out, it's what's tough about those divisional matchups. For the third time too, these teams played each other tough. I'm trying to remember back. The 49ers had a lead, right? Was it 17-0 lead at one point?
Yeah, they were up. It might have been 17-3 or something. I can't remember, but it was
and the Rams came back.
Honestly, surprising. Like I did not expect that.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think there was a stat too where McVay, like every time they've been down by 10 points or more, I don't think they've ever come back and won or some shit like that. I could be butchering that stat, but it was something in that world. So yeah, this was like one of their comeback wins. It's like something that they kind of haven't achieved yet. Yeah, dude, the Rams, I mean, they were able to come back, but dude, the defense is still playing pretty well, dude. Like what was the final of that game again? 20-17. Like after those 17 points, that's still the hold a team in the NFL in this day and age to 17 points. The way offenses are favored, still pretty impressive. They got fucking 9 Pro Bowlers on that defense. So when they needed to play, man, they were able to get it, whether it was Von Miller or Donald or Ramsey. So yeah, I mean, this one to me wasn't. I kind of expected the Rams to win this one, so no really big surprise here. And yeah, now we got Bengals Rams in the Super Bowl for the second year in a row, too. By the way, that a home team is playing in their stadium, which is interesting. I thought I saw a rumor where the NFL was like didn't want. Maybe it was fake, but they didn't want to supposedly have another home team play in their stadium, so they were going to move the game to like Dallas or some shit. So I don't know if that was true or not, but it's pretty crazy. So yeah, we'll preview the Super Bowl at the end. We got some shit to talk about because since our last podcast,
a lot of stuff going down.
Did you want to say anything about that game, or?
I mean, outside of just real physical game. You just, when you look at the matchup, defensively, San Francisco is a solid squad. Same with the Rams. I mean, a very solid defensive squad there. It's just ultimately like when it boiled down to it, like who do you have more faith in to lead a team to victory, Matt Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo, right? So I think that's really what it kind of boiled down to. And, and each team has their quirks offensively, but, the 49ers, if they can rely on their run game and, really establish themselves there on the, running the football and show success, like that's where they win football games primarily, and Deebo Samuel's a big part of that. But, I just, when you go into that matchup, something about it told me like, hey, if you're going to force Jimmy G to beat you, like, I just don't know that he can, consistently. And, I think that's really what it, really what it boiled down to at the end of the day. Matt Stafford made plays.
Yeah. I mean, Jimmy G only really, look, he wins games. They only really let him throw the ball, like, we'll say 25 times a game at max. I mean, game before, I think he only threw like 19. So he doesn't throw the ball very often. Maybe they expect him to make a couple big throws here and there. So yeah, I mean, like, he's not a gunslinger by any means, and he's probably going to be with another team next year because they're probably going to go with Trey Lance, I would imagine. So I don't know what team out there is going to go with him. Maybe the Giants. I don't know. Are they going to stick with Danny Lones? I don't know. We'll see. That's going to be something that's going to be tracked in the offseason here. But yeah, man, before we get into it here, we last podcast, we talked about a couple coaching hires, and then literally when we were done, the Raiders made their hire, which was pretty interesting, right? They were able to pull the Patriots general manager. I don't know his name. Do you know his name? They pulled him, and they pulled Josh McDaniels to be the head coach, which was kind of out of nowhere. We never thought that, Josh McDaniels was going to leave the Patriots. We kind of just assumed he was going to take over for Belichick. So interesting that he would leave. Maybe they knew something that we don't know. I don't really know. Shortly after that, those text messages came out, which we'll talk about here in the next segment with just general NFL news. But I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy. But a lot of teams also, some time's passed now, but I'm sure a lot of teams were iffy on McDaniels. Seems how he pulled that move with the Colts a few years back. But yeah, man, I don't know. What do you think about that hire?
Well, he's been a coveted asset for a while, I feel like. And I feel, it's just kind of part of the Belichick coaching tree where Belichick disciples are always given a crack at coaching jobs. And with McDaniels already having previous head coaching experience, it was kind of honestly,
because he was only 35, I think, when he was with the Denver. Broncos. He was young.
Yeah. And it's one of those deals that I was shocked. I did not, that was out of left field. I did not expect really that to be a thing.
Because they were talking about what? They were talking about hardball, right?
Yeah,
and
honestly, a prevailing thought around the league was he was in line to take over for Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
Had Bill Belichick decided to call it quits in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that was probably the most surprising thing about it to me. But, assuming that McDaniels can unlock Derek Carr in a beneficial way, I can absolutely see this being a pretty good hire for the Raiders, honestly. But you're competing in a division that now has Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in it. So, you got kind of an uphill battle, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think, since he was coaching Mac Jones all year, I wonder if he maybe part of the decision was the limitations that Mac Jones might have. Yeah, he had a good rookie season, but maybe McDaniels was like, you know what? I'm not really sure if, he's going to be the guy to like be able to throw the football well consistently. I don't know. I'm just speculating. So like just other reasons why maybe he would have maybe he's like, hey, what you said with the AFC, maybe he's like, well, I can go to the Raiders where I have Carr, who I know can play, and I can make him maybe a little bit better. I don't know,
man. Like, you get an opportunity to jump on a head coaching job in which you think you can be successful based on what's available to you resource wise.
And the Raiders are still like, you look at what they went through this year. It's like they still made it to the playoffs. They're still, after like all that bullshit, losing 2 players.
Yep.
So like, they're a gritty, like still talented team, Well,
I think I agree with that. And I think they have, some good pieces in place. And, we, like I said, we've seen it before with coordinators, and it just I think it boils down to, did he want to sit there and wait for who knows when Belichick decides he wants to retire versus I have an opportunity in a situation I think I can be very successful and I can, kind of compete in, and turn this program around a bit. Like you alluded to, a team that's already been in the playoffs. So, you're going to probably have some carryover there from a player standpoint. So, that I can definitely, I don't fault them for making that move. You know what I mean? But, we'll see what happens with it. But I do like the hire for the Raiders.
I was looking at this draft pick, or the draft this year. They picked 22 because I was curious on when they picked. So yeah, they're finished 10-7, and they got picked 22 in the draft, and it says that they're probably going to be addressing offensive line needs because they got a good running back, they got the quarterback. But yeah, it says biggest needs though is defensive tackle, offensive line, and receiver. But we'll see. We will see. But yeah, so interesting move there. I thought a couple other interesting moves. Well, I'm going to knock this one out. This one, my bar manager is used to be a San Diego Chargers fan, but he couldn't root for them in LA. So then he kind of jumped on the Saints bandwagon because he liked Drew Brees, right? So he called it. He's like, no, the Saints are going to move up their D coordinator to the head coaching position, and he was right. That's exactly what they did. I think that's pretty cool. Like the Saints were kind of defensively sound the last couple of years. So there's some consistency there, I would say, with that defense going into 2022. And I don't know if they hired an OC yet, but we'll see if they give Winston another shot, and or if they bring in somebody else. I don't know. So that one, that's not really surprising. I don't know. I think the next 4 are pretty interesting. Well, I don't know. What do you think? Last time we were we were recording, we were talking about the rumor of Josh McCown to Houston, that they did not hire Josh McCown. They decided I didn't know Lovie Smith was their defensive coordinator. Yeah, I thought he was still coaching college ball. So that was
I also for some reason didn't make that connection either until I saw it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like I remember, like I didn't really pay too much attention to the Houston Texans this year just because of, you know,
last I saw, wasn't Lovie Smith coaching like Syracuse or some shit? He was in college and he was coaching ball after he left.
Yeah, Chicago. I can't remember where he was though prior to being DC, but I did see. It's interesting.
Honestly,
that they made that pivot.
You know who I thought the DC was still Romeo Cornell.
Oh, really?
I couldn't remember. I didn't remember when they fired him. Maybe that was last year.
Yeah, they probably, when Cully came in, they probably revamped the staff.
Yeah,
and that's again, like David Cully comes in, and I just
wasn't the guy they initially want. It was like their last option essentially.
And plus, I wasn't like blown away with the hire, but I honestly thought he did a good job last year. And we talked a little bit about given
the circumstances too.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about like how maybe he didn't get that fair of a shake in Houston. You know what I mean? So
I don't think so.
And like this hire, I'm honestly of the belief that they were fully intending on hiring Josh McCown as the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shit with Flores went down and they're like, ooh, we should probably definitely throw it out there that we're really seriously considering hiring Flores, but let's kind of save some face here. And I think that's really what they did, because after the Flores shit went down,
that's when
before they announced
switched.
that, like, could you imagine Twitter, imagine the media.
It'd be crazy.
And that's a big thing, and it's a big topic that really does need to be addressed, and it's pretty prevalent where you look at, and
we're going to talk minority about that too.
Yeah. But like, imagine Josh McCown is announced as a coaching hire, as the head coach of the Houston Texans, right after Brian Flores was like, "You racist motherfuckers don't hire any black coaches." Like, that shit would have been an all-time fucking catastrophe.
Well, it would have helped his argument. Instantly. Yeah.
And here's the thing though, man. Like, I don't think Lovie Smith is a bad coach at all. Like, I honestly think that was probably a better move.
Absolutely.
So like I think the Texans, like, ironically thought maybe, we better pivot here, and ultimately ended up doing themselves a favor.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just, kind of how I feel about it. Cause I think Lovie Smith, it was, assuming he's kind of learned some tendencies, and like, there were some things, aggressiveness on fourth down and like stuff like that in his previous tenure, he wasn't quite, on top of it. So, assuming that he puts a staff around him, kind of goes, the analytical approach of, using that data to help support decision-making and things, if he can improve in that area, I think he could end up being a very good coach for the Texans. And who knows, maybe that helps salvage the relationship with Deshaun Watson. You never know. But, ultimately, I think like that pivot from, oh, fuck, we better not hire Josh McCown, ultimately ended up helping the Texans in the end. So,
yeah. And like, I didn't even remember this. I just have some friends that are Chicago fans. And I had to really think back to when Lovie Smith was let go by the Bears. His last season with the Bears, he was 10-6, and they still fired him. And it's like fuck, dude. Like, a lot of teams would love a record like that,
Oh, right, exactly.
And he took the Bears to a Super Bowl. So yeah, man, I think this is way better hire than Josh McCown, dude. Listen, Josh McCown's cool and everything. He was a great player, got locker room guy, but man, never coaching before at the NFL level and getting thrown in as a head coach, I think is just, it's not fair because you didn't pay your dues. It's one thing when you hire like some young guys like McVay and stuff that are supposedly these gurus that are kind of young. At least they were, worked their way up to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't know, but yeah, I actually think this hire will be pretty cool. I want to see how it plays out because we still don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Like, is that going to be enough for him to want to stay there after all the bullshit that went down? I don't know. So we'll see what they do down there. And in Houston. So, but yeah, definitely a better move than fucking Josh.
Yeah, I think this will prove to be better for the franchise just in general.
Yep. Also, let's see here. Miami hired Mike McDaniel. He was 49ers OC, right? I didn't watch his apparently he's known for having some funny press conferences. And I saw, like, I didn't have audio, so I saw him like on Twitter or something like that. So I need to go back and watch them. I guess they're kind of funny. He seems like a nerdy guy.
Yeah, fun fact, he's one of only 2 minority coaches hired this hiring cycle.
He kind of, what is he? He kind of
his dad's black and his mom's white.
He almost looked kind of Latino a little bit.
Yeah, so in the video. So he's a minority coach, but honestly, outside of just looking at that, and I know it's a big story around the league, but like outside of looking at that, I think he was kind of an up and coming, kind of, it fits the, like you said, it's the Shanahan, Shanahan tree there for him, and kind of a more of an offensive mind, a Yale guy, so he's smart. Brings the youth side of it, which seems to be a prevalent thing for new coaching hires. You kind of have the youth movement and as a head coach. So we'll see. Honestly, with how San Francisco plays offense and what Shanahan tries to accomplish offensively, like I think you can make that work with a quarterback like Tua. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you don't have a guy that has like the strongest arm in the world, but he's an accurate quarterback. And I think you can potentially unlock some things offensively, with that philosophy that he's going to bring to the table that could help them be a little bit more consistent and a little bit more successful on offense.
Yeah.
Assuming they're putting pieces in place, offensive line needs a little bit upgraded in Miami. And you do think, all right, hey, is Myles Gaskin really going to be the guy, at running back for them? So we could see some changes there, but I do think that they could potentially unlock some of the potential that Tua has there and make him look, a little bit more like an NFL quarterback and not hold him back.
Hey, that's just popped in my head. We were going to talk about it here soon, and I'm just starting before we do talk about it. Maybe they make a trade for Barkley. I don't know. We'll see. The pair up with Tua and that style of offense, because you'd be getting the ball a lot. I don't know. 2 more hires. We have Minnesota. Harbaugh did not go there, but they hired Kevin O'Connell. Where do you come from?
Again, youth movement. OC from the Rams.
That's right. Okay, I was getting them all mixed up, but that's what I was saying. That was the one. Okay. Interesting. I wonder if, I don't know when everybody keeps talking about Kirk Cousins, but he's still under contract, right? He'd have to be traded if they're going to get rid of him, which I don't think they'll do. People shit on Kirk Cousins, and I understand, statistically though, if you go on Pro Football Focus or whatever, he's in the top 10 best quarterbacks, right? Statistically. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he's in the top 10.
What was this now?
Kirk Cousins.
This year? Or just like in general?
I was saying in general. I don't know what this year. I don't know what he did.
Interesting. I knew he had a good year this year. Well,
let me see.
Statistically, he had a good year, but just in general, that's interesting. I did not. I guess I didn't realize that, and I would have never pegged that, honestly.
Let me see. I want to make sure I'm fucking. I know I throw a lot of shit out here, but I want to make sure I'm accurate. Quarterback, 2000.
While you're looking this up, I saw this thing as you're looking up these stats. Jonathan Allen gave his list as defensive tackle for the new Washington Commanders. By the way, congrats on the new name.
Oh yeah, fuck! We didn't write that. I didn't write that down. A lot of people seem to hate it though.
Yeah, I'm indifferent. It is what it is. Good for you guys. I kind of like the football team because you could always just use the running joke of WTF, WFT. When they fuck up. But but he said he would have dinner. If you could pick 3 people to have dinner with, one of his answers was Hitler, and people were giving him shit for it. I'm like, what? Yeah, So he said he would have dinner with Hitler. I forget who else was in his list, but people people are giving him shit for it. And I'm just like honestly, man, like, yeah, I would use that answer if it was like, you know, if somebody I want to have dinner with and then immediately put a bullet in their head for, you know, with a gun I hid in the toilet or some shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, like, all right, hey, yeah, good for you. Thanks for showing up, Adolf, you fuck. But yeah, that was just fun. It was just people are like blowing that up, and I'm like, hey man, everyone's got their own reason, but you know, I don't think it's for the reasons everyone wants it to be. You know why they're giving him shit for it, but
yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean,
yeah.
look, that doesn't. He could, you know, maybe he'd want to ask him a fuck ton of questions, see how his mind works. I mean, he's obviously a crazy fuck, so like, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. It's not like he's gonna sit there and fucking get hammered with the guy and be like, hey, let me fucking kill some Jews too. It's not, you know
Right,
what I mean? Like,
right, exactly. Like
yeah,
it's not like he's just gonna be like, I want to have dinner with him because I fucking subscribe to his philosophy of life. But like
right.
the guy was
People jump to conclusions. It's the world we live in
yeah,
now. People jump to
yeah.
conclusions and shit.
He's an interesting person, and like, you know, it'd be interesting to get his perspective on shit while also simultaneously despising everything he was as a person. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I can see, you know, why that answer would be it. But yeah. So what were the stats on Kirk Cousins?
So according to Pro Football Focus, right, they do. I mean, you're familiar with them, right? How they calculate this. They go like
Yes.
per play efficiency, drop back efficiency from clean pocket, all that stuff, and they calculate it out. So he currently sits even ahead of Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes is 10th. He's not. He's 9th technically.
Interesting.
Tom Brady was number 1. He basically had one of his. I mean, fucking crazy. Out of his career though, his ranking on here is 11th. So Kirk Cousins, I mean, people hate on him, but I mean, he's a solid quarterback, you know. Just depends how much money you want to pay him. You know, you got that big contract. Is he worth that? I don't know. But anywho, yeah. So them getting Kevin O'Connell, we'll see what he does with him. It's gonna look. I think it'll make his offense is probably gonna. That means Cousins is probably gonna be throwing the ball a lot more, I'd imagine. Unless he adjusts the offense, I don't think he will. I think it's going to be a lot more. We're gonna see what Cousins does. Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I think this could unlock Dalvin Cook a bit, and I think it definitely unlocks Justin Jefferson in that offense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. Trust me, you know, like the Browns are basically Minnesota 2.0, and yeah, dude, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to get some receivers because, you know, remember like Diggs was complaining when he was there. Jefferson had the good rookie year, but kind of, you know, I don't know what happened. Yeah. It's just the system that they played in, I guess.
Yeah, I think bringing that a lot of motion, a lot of 11 personnel into the fold, zone offense, you know, zone run offense with you know, tons of play action built off of it, I think can kind of help all parties involved, and especially Kirk Cousins, man. Like, I know you said that he had a really good season this year, but I think you know, throwing off of play action helps almost every quarterback, and I honestly think that, you know, this could be something that Kirk can kind of thrive in from a schematic standpoint. So
yeah. And then last but not least, Jacksonville went with Doug Peterson. You know, I thought excuse me.
Oh yeah,
I thought that they would definitely go with their boy Leftwich. They did not do that. Doug Peterson gets
they dipped in the well and went with an old faithful. Peterson. Previous hire, kind of retread hire.
I mean, it's hard to argue it. I mean, he does have a Super Bowl ring in the last, what was that 2018?
17.
4 years ago, and you know, shit went south real quick with Philadelphia.
No, it might have been 18 because Wentz was drafted 17.
Oh yeah, 16, 17. Yeah, because he was.
It was either 17 or 18. I can't remember.
Something like that.
17 sticks in my head, but yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, he inherits Trevor Lawrence. Wasn't he? Peterson's a defensive guy, though, isn't he? Or no?
He's a quarterback, man.
Yeah, that's right. He's offense guy. Yeah, man. I mean, look, some experience there. Super Bowl, you know, winner. we'll see what he does with it. He's got some good pieces there. We Jacksonville came out. Their rookie running back was Tiene. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
I always
Travis
at DNA. Yeah. He'll be back healthy. They got some pieces there, I think, on that team, young talent. So I definitely think they'll be better next year for sure. So we'll see how quick he can turn that team around and start winning some games.
Well, I feel like he's put together, he started to put together a pretty good staff. I mean, obviously it's all
they did bring in
Trevor Lawrence.
They did bring in a pretty good quarterbacks coach. I think to work with him.
Yep.
So they've already kind of assembled some other pieces. So, but yeah, man, I think as of right now, I think all the teams have their hires, right?
Yep. So
yeah.
Who's your favorite out of all the groups or all the coaches that got hired? Who's your favorite one?
That
you think obviously fit wise, but just kind of should be able to turn the programs around a little bit faster.
It's tough because a lot of these guys, well, half of them or so are first-time coaches or head coaches, right? And they always say the head coach is more of like a CEO where you delegate, build your team around, other coaches and stuff. Supposedly you don't even do that much coaching at that point. You're just kind of a facilitator a little bit. So it's kind of hard to kind of jump on some of the newer guys that are younger here. We haven't seen be a head coach yet. To me, the most intriguing is the McDaniels move, I think, with the Raiders. I think they're probably in the best position to get back to the playoffs and be really competitive. So
yeah, I think
maybe the Raiders.
I think that one stands out the most to me because of just the shock factor, because I seriously thought Harbaugh was in the mix and, there was a lot of other names floated out there. And when that story came out that hey, he's, that he's interviewing, I kind of had the PTSD of when he was interviewing with the Colts, right? He's just going to back out of it or, he's just kind of, brushing up the resume and interviewing here. And then bam, he's the coach. So I think to me, that's probably the most intriguing hire. But I do like some of the things I like what the Giants did. And I think they brought in, good. They did bring in a good staff for,
I forgot about them
for Dable, and I do we'll see because I know things didn't end very well in Philadelphia, but the Doug Peterson hire in Jacksonville is also a very intriguing hire to me. Because I can see a lot of equivalencies to what they did with Carson Wentz, when he was in Philly. So, assuming that they can kind of style an offense, around what he does well, and really bring, that energy. It's obviously a dramatic upgrade over Urban Meyer there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That was definitely my picks. But I think the McDaniels hire kind of sits on top of the rest of them as most intriguing and I think could pay the most dividends at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then, like I said, we talked about Houston and that kind of came out of nowhere after the McCown thing. And I think even if it's not the route that they really wanted to go, if that is true, like we said, I think it's nice to see Lovie Smith finally get another shot. I mean, Nagy was it with the Bears for how long? That was
right.
4 seasons at least or so. So the fact it took that long for Lovie Smith to get another shot after getting fired after 10-6 is kind of crazy, actually. And we'll kind of get into that as we talk about the Flores things. But before we get there, go over a couple things that also happened other than the coaching hires. First thing is directly after the Pro Bowl, I don't know who Kamara was hanging out with, but he ended up getting a battery charge directly after the Pro Bowl, which blows my mind because it's I don't know if they were in a club or casino. I can't remember what it was, but it's dude, you're a superstar, one of the best running backs in the league. What are you doing, dude? What do you I don't know, man. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Did you see did you send me the picture? Somebody sent me that was you, right?
Yeah. I sent it over.
He beat the fuck out of that. He beat the fuck out of that, dude. And supposedly, I didn't read more into it, but supposedly he was with his boys, probably like people he grew up with. It sounded like he didn't even start it. It sounded like his boy started it, and I don't know if that's true or not, but regardless, he was the one that beat shit out of dude and fucked him up. And I'd say minimum, he's probably going to be suspended for what, 6 weeks minimum.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I was looking at Kamara as a possible cap casualty for the Saints because of their cap situation.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like under the radar. Like maybe if he's a cap casualty, like the Bills could scoop him. Now it's like, all right, well, fuck, I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah.
But how crazy is it that, that was what I didn't even hear about this. Like it never really popped up or anything. It just kind of was like swept under the rug as far as news in the news cycle. It's just like, so the fact that it got brought to my attention, it was kind of shocking to me. And I don't know what to expect out of it. It's kind of like my thoughts on the Deshaun Watson thing, where I'm just gonna let the process play out and kind of see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any shred of information as far as evidence. Have it going to trial, etc. Granted, our legal system is completely different conversation there. But I'll throw this out there: if Kareem Hunt can kick somebody, or whatever it was that he did, right?
He's like a girl.
He kicked a girl. Like if he can do that and still play in the league,
he's still gonna play,
but
he's still gonna play in the league. It's not like he beat his wife or anything. So
at
some point, people will forget about it.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, I don't know, man. As a professional athlete, like I can see how you can get put in those situations, like because people recognize you and like you're obviously a public figure, right? Yeah. But I just don't understand to do to really put yourself in a position like that.
It's tricky too.
If you try to show a little self-control if you can, but again, that's why we're waiting for the process to play out, because who knows what instigated it, what really happened, and whatever else goes down. But yeah, the initial, knee-jerk reaction to it and just the initial optics of it do not look good.
Yeah. Speaking of knee-jerk reactions, the other day, it blew up on the Twitter and news that Kyler Murray deleted all Cardinals things off his social media. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is like he knows something that we don't know. I mean, you can't do trades until what, March 16th? Like that's when officially the new year begins and teams
right, free agency. Yep.
Yeah. So we got a little more than a month away from that. So unless they had a meeting and he knows something we don't know, that they're like, hey, we're going to trade you this offseason. Like, I don't know why you would do that, or like, what the motive is behind that. Or maybe it means nothing at all. I don't know. Or maybe he's like, you know what? Fuck football. I'm going to go play baseball. I don't know. I have no idea.
That'd be something, huh?
Wouldn't that be crazy?
That'd be wild.
I don't know. So what do you think about it? Anything?
Well, I'll put it in perspective. I know Bills players do this frequently, scrub all social media, content of Bill stuff until the season starts back up, and then they do it again, put all the stuff back out there. It's not an uncommon practice. There seems to be a little bit more substance based on some of the conversations that have been had, with his agent and like things of that nature. So,
yeah,
it's hard to take anything specifically away from it without a statement being sent out or whatever. But, it could be, we're really just speculating at this point. I don't know that it's like, again, anything super serious, but, he is kind of in that range where a contract extension might be looming, there might be.
Because he's going in year 4. I mean, he could get an extension.
Who knows?
It could be that too. Maybe he's crying about not getting an extension. I don't know.
Well, remember after the playoff loss, there was some reports, and it's been kind of disputed, but they were out there that Cliff Kingsbury got kind of into a heated argument with ownership and some of the front office people. So it's been kind of squashed there, but maybe that has a little bit to do with it. Like, hey, if Cliff goes, like, I don't know, man, like, I don't know how I feel about it. So, but again, the flip side of the coin, playing devil's advocate for all the shit that it could possibly be where he's pissed off.
Yeah.
It could also just be, hey, that's what players sometimes do in the offseason.
Yeah.
So, it's until we hear anything specific or any like points of contention come up from inside sources, like it's kind of just a lot of speculation. And honestly, I think might be, again, knee jerk, maybe a little bit over the top reaction for some fans, but I can see why it would bring about, a little bit of a conversation in league circles. So,
yeah, we'll see, dude. I think we are going to have some trades this off season. So in a month from now, I think we'll see maybe some big names. We still got some big name free agents that might be signing elsewhere. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. Speaking of, one of the rumors that I saw was, and that's why I made the comment earlier about Miami, maybe getting this guy, but supposedly the Giants are open to getting rid of some pieces to get some draft picks, loaded up. So Saquon Barkley and even Kadarius Toney supposedly are on the trade block. Kadarius Toney, I think, still can be a really good receiver. Saquon Barkley, I understand why you'd want to maybe trade him. He's been been banged up. He's went through some surgeries, even though he's still pretty young. But hey, I mean, me and you, when they drafted him, even said, like, coming out of Penn State, he was one of the top prospects. However, drafting running back so high in the NFL, especially if you're in that top 10 or whatever, like, you need so many pieces that a running back's not going to make you turn that corner. And as good as he was and is, I just thought that whole draft pick was terrible for them. They should have went and picked something else. So I could see like why they'd want to trade him for sure. I don't know what they get out of him.
Well, if you listen to Joe Shane, the general manager, he talked about, trying to be smart about positional values and contracts, where targeted free agency versus where you're trying to, draft, because, he said a big thing is your cost controlled assets for, players that are cost controlled for 4 years are extremely valuable because, you start looking at some of these contracts and what quarterbacks bring to the market, what a top cornerback, is getting paid, what a top receiver is getting paid. He's like, you're looking at 20 million for a top receiver. You're looking at, almost 20 plus million for a corner. You're looking at 45 to 50 for a top tier quarterback. So, trying to balance the free agent acquisitions and positions of value with, draft needs. I could absolutely see them saying, hey, Saquon, you were a first round running back. Granted, you haven't quite stayed healthy and produced the way, we would like to see. But, your fifth year option, your fifth year number is going to be astronomical because of where you were drafted. And, it's going to be up there in terms of contract money, so maybe it is something where they say, hey, we're going to cut ties with this guy, turn our focus to a draft pick in that position. And the Kadarius Toney one's interesting to me because, that's a guy that is cost controlled as a first round pick.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they would want to part ways with him. He reminds me, as far as like what Dable used to use, and Isaiah McKenzie, he reminds me of a guy that can kind of do a lot of different things and fit schematically in that system. So I could honestly see Saquon being on the move before Toney, but it would not surprise me if, with new regime coming in that, some players are either let go or ultimately traded.
Well, looking at the draft order, it could be a really good move for them because to get that draft capital, because look, they're already drafting number 5 and number 7. So they got 2 picks in the top 10. And then maybe they don't get a first round for Saquon, which if I was a team trading, I wouldn't give a first round, but maybe they get a high second round and you got 2 first rounds and a high second round. Like you're going into this offseason sitting pretty good in this draft. So definitely can see that. But Kadarius Toney when was he drafted last year? He was a rookie, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a rookie last year, right?
Out of Florida, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I would say he'd be a good piece to keep.
Well, that's what
if you decide to go get like a, maybe you do decide to trade for like a, I don't know, Russell Wilson or another quarterback.
That's where I forget where I heard it, but he the general manager for
talking about that.
It was just an interview. And he really stressed positional value and some of the things there, and how, cost control for 4 and 5 year contracts for rookies are important. So like,
Yeah.
I can't see him saying that in that interview and then turning around and saying, all right, hey, you're a second year guy, see you later. Like, he's a cost control player for that.
If anything, keep Kadarius Toney and go get one of these free agents. It's called big free agent court. Now you might be paying for the receiver, but if it's a number one guy and Darius Toney could be like your number two, I think.
Well, they just paid Kenny Golladay as a number one guy.
I forgot they had him. He was injured at one point, but yeah, I forgot about that. So they do got a veteran there. I don't know.
Their wide receiving core is actually pretty interesting with Sterling Shepard, Golladay.
That's right.
Darius Slayton and Toney. So their wide receiver room, I think, could be decent.
Yeah.
I wasn't that high on Golladay, but
maybe they'll beef up that O-line. But like I said, man, 5 and 7, picking twice in the top 10. It's pretty interesting. They might even give one of those picks up and get a lot of draft capital back. You know what I mean? So they're in an interesting position. I can't wait to see exactly what they do too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll definitely be talking about that over the next, month for sure, when all these moves are being made. So big topic, finally getting to it here before we preview the Super Bowl. We'll see how long we talk about this. I think it's the top conversation right now. So we've been on the show and we talked about how we didn't agree with Miami firing Flores, and then, Flores comes out, decides he's going to sue the NFL and a couple teams for, basically the issue of hiring black coach, not even just black coaches, but also, GMs and stuff like that. And then, the text messages come out where like they're using that Bill Belichick congratulating him for getting the Giants job whenever him and actual Dabble were on, come from the Belichick tree a little bit. So, I was listening to Bussin' with the Boys. I think it was Bussin' with the Boys. It might have been the Pivot podcast. I can't remember which one it is, but they're like Bill Belichick's really, really detailed, right? They were saying like for him to like text the wrong coach by accident wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? So I don't know how important these text messages will be. If you didn't see it, basically Belichick, who was congratulating what was supposed to be Brian Dable, went to Brian Flores. So it was kind of showing that maybe Belichick knew that happened before the interview was supposed to take place with Flores to the Giants. And it made it seem like that because of the Rooney Rule, they were just bringing him in just to check off their quota, right? The other teams, I'm not sure like what evidence they have, to be a part of this lawsuit or whatnot, but it's one of those things. And, a lot of people there's people on both sides. Like there's, some people will argue, oh, well, 70% of the NFL is black, talking about the players. But dude, it's no secret. The Rooney Rule, I think, was what it came. I think it actually might even hurt, make it the whole situation worse because, if you have to check off a quota of a minority interview for a head coaching position, you just bring in whoever and wine and dine them with no intentions of even hiring them. You know what I mean? So yeah. I don't know how much it actually helps. It might even make it look worse. But here's the one thing. And then Hugh Jackson came out right after that and was trying to double down. His claim is a little interesting because he claimed that when he was with Cleveland, he got paid to like lose on purpose. And it's not the first time he's come out after the fact, but like, I don't know. His is a little different than Flores. And like when you hear like Flores talk about it, he just seems different, like a little bit more believable, obviously. But the one thing I
think Flores had actual like text message evidence of it too and stuff like that.
I don't think they released them yet. Yeah. So I want to see like as this builds, what other evidence they have. It'd be cool to see. But here's my thing that I've talked about before, and my counter argument to the people that are like, oh, well, 70% of the NFL is black. You can't just talk about the players in that regard. I've talked in the past about it's how we're talking about the Josh McCown thing. Kingsbury here in Arizona, coached at Texas Tech for like a long time. I forgot how many seasons. Never won the Big 12. Out of nowhere got hired by the Cardinals, just for having a high-powered offense, I guess. Even though he never won shit. And that's when I was like, man, it's always about who you know, right? So, I think the NFL is like that a lot. Everybody questions, Kansas City's OC. Am I drawing a blank? Oh, Eric
Bieniemy. Yep.
He's been there for so long, deserves a shot. I don't even know if he's interviewed that much or not. But even this year, it's still hasn't got hired. You had Levy Smith getting fired at 10-6. Then not getting a shot until now. It's pretty clear to me like there's definitely an issue. And when you look at ownership, I mean, let's think about it. These owners are probably what, 70s, maybe 80s, older guys.
Older, yeah.
So we're talking about people who were born in like maybe 1950, maybe the 40s, right? These people grew up in a time where, like, when segregation was going on, right? So they grew up in a time where like that was normal to them, right? I think inherently, whether they want to admit it or not, they naturally have a racist instinct because that's what they grew up in, and they're so old now, it's kind of conditioned. Like, I'm not saying they're all racist, but like, I mean, to me, that I don't think people like that just get rid of that. You know what I mean? So I could totally see where there's an issue. I mean, we still don't have any black owners. And these guys just come from that type of era. So like, doesn't shock me at all. Now these dudes have a fuck ton of money. They're probably going to be able to fight this. I don't know what's going to happen, but majority of the players that play in the NFL are black, and you would think there would be more black head coaches.
Yeah, I mean, just statistically, it's such an outlier, right? Like you talk about. I mean, I distinctly remember, like, previous players have gone into coaching, and but a lot of them are position coaches and kind of working their way up, through the ranks there. But to see these guys kind of get stuck in that purgatory of we'll never get a head job because of head coaching job. Because
look how quick let's look it up right now. How quick did Mike Vrabel go from player to D coordinator to head coach?
Right. It was like an ascension very quickly, right?
Yeah, let's see.
But I think in players, I forget which players it was, but a lot of players had comment on it, and they brought up the point of minority ownership. Minority individuals as owners in the NFL will help alleviate some of the issues that we're seeing. And there is it's a huge disparity of white coaches being, head coaches in the NFL versus minorities that get a shot. So is the tide turning? I don't know. Maybe not in good faith, because we talked about the Lovie Smith thing, earlier in this episode, but it's alarming. I don't know what to make of it, because you would think that out of all the players that had played in the NFL and become, part of coaching staff and things, that there would be qualified candidates, and even more so than some of the guys that get hired as retread coaches and things. Like, you would think, hey, we're going to try to go along the path, like a Mike McDaniel, right? Like, you got a guy that's an up and coming coach, considered to be a bright mind, and well respected, and understands how players operate in today's NFL, and with younger, being able to relate to younger players. Like, you would think that there'd be more people like that, right? So it's just, it is mind-boggling, for sure.
I was just looking up because I used Vrabel as a example. He did coach a little bit more than I thought. Like, he's in 2014, or no, sorry, 2011. He coached linebackers at Ohio State, which I don't remember. And then he stayed on in December 2011. He became, because that's when Urban came in. and he stayed and he was a defensive line coach. And then in 2014 is when he became a linebackers coach for the Texans. He was there for 3 seasons. And then in January 2016, 49ers gave him the D coordinator job. He declined that offer, remained in Houston, and then he became D coordinator in Houston in 2017. So he was only a DC for 1 year in the NFL under Romeo Crennel. And then in 2018, when he's got the head coaching job. So he did coach for a little bit, but only a defensive coordinator for 1 year before he got the head coaching job with the Tennessee Titans. So that's pretty crazy when you think about it, right? I mean, how long? Like I said, Eric Bieniemy has been an OC for a while. You got Brian Leftwich, who's been fucking killing it with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but did you see his comments and like why he was? I think he was in serious contention for the Jags job, but then he said that it's like I'm not going to work here if Trent Baalke is the GM still. Like I'd want to have a new GM come in, and I don't think they like that much. So they kind of put the kibosh on it.
You must have known him from when playing days, or you must have some connection to him.
No, I just don't know that he's a fan of the moves that he's made, right? And so it's like I don't know, he just didn't want to work with him. So it could be a number of things, like maybe previous experience and stuff with him, but that was something that he alluded to or was alluded to. So
I mean, there's probably a massive list of ex-players that I can't think of right now who are Black that are moving up the ranks.
I mean, there were a lot of guys that got looks this year. And I think there's a lot of really good candidates. I mean, you got guys like Raheem Morris, you got Todd Bowles, you got Byron Leftwich, you got Bieniemy, you got Leslie Frazier, you've got, I think there's a ton of qualified coaching candidates for head coach jobs. Hopefully this lawsuit kind of brings that to light a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we start seeing, instead of being just focusing on hiring predominantly white coaches, like maybe we see, more the most qualified person being hired. Right.
I think it depends on the team too. Cause like we did see Minnesota brought in one of the Browns executives to be the GM who's Black, and the Browns have been pretty good at that. Even when we brought in Hugh Jackson, and even when we brought over our D coordinator, I'm drawing a blank. Joe, is it from the 49ers? Joe, right? Joe Woods.
Joe Woods, yep.
And then Andrew Berry, youngest GM, also Black. Like Browns have done a really good job. So we're starting to see more GMs that are Black get hired too, and I think that's kind of where it starts. But it's no question, dude. It's been an issue for a while. So we'll see if he can win this. That's why I'm interested to see how it folds out and like what evidence, if they actually have hard evidence that they can, present to in a courtroom. I want to see how it plays off, and I think Flores might have a shot, man. It might like hurt him in the long run, like getting another head coaching job, unfortunately. But he's also being the guy to kind of step up and take the heat to kind of change it. So kudos to him.
While I'm in full agreement of diversity and just making sure that the regardless of skin color, if a team's going to hire somebody, hire the most qualified person. But I'm also going to plant my flag in the arena of why haven't we had a woman head coach hired yet? So it's interesting in the paradigm of the NFL and how it relates to historical context, right? Like,
yeah,
white men were allowed to vote, Black men were allowed to vote after that. Women finally got their rights at a certain time. So it's just interesting perspective to keep in mind.
I wanted to crack some jokes just now.
No, yeah, I'm gonna throw that out there. Like, why hasn't a woman head coach been hired? And I'm gonna start a Twitter outrage on that shit. So, joking. That's because that part of it, the Twitter outrage is a joke. But seriously,
there's probably somebody out there that's trying to argue that. You know what I mean?
Right. But at this, it's possible, But I mean, it's still like I'd like to encompass that in the change, the progress moving forward in the NFL. Like, not only should we just limit this to coaches with a specific skin color. Like, we understand that is a problem. We understand why the Rooney Rule was implemented, but I'd like to broaden that scope and see women coaching candidates also be in consideration for this, because why not? You know what I mean? Like, why are we excluding that? You're talking about trying to gain an edge in coaching and trying to find the next big thing. Like, why not broaden your scope to encompass all people, right? So and we're starting to see a wave of, there's more female coaches, more women coaches in NFL circles. They're getting promoted to higher positions in organizations. So I think it is a matter of time before we do see that. But like, it plays even into politics. Like, we've never seen a woman president, you know what I mean? Like, things of that nature. So it'd be nice to kind of broaden that scope a little bit more. Granted, the NFL is kind of one of those environments that can breed a toxic masculinity, and you have a female coach in there. What does that do? Like, how does that play out? But it's just something to keep in mind. We're talking about skin color, we're talking about my majority of white head coaches. Why not make that progress forward and encompass everybody? So
yeah. Well, but then it's like, I don't know. And then there's another side of it where, like, are people getting positions just because of that? So that's another issue in itself. You know what I mean?
Like I said, man, like, I find it very difficult that from a statistical standpoint, you have a league that's predominantly played by Black athletes.
Yeah.
And then you flip that to, why don't we have more of these players become coaches? Now, granted, not every player is going to want to be a coach, right? But
right. Not every great player is a good coach too.
That's the thing. But but you also look at it, it's just like, why it's almost statistically unfathomable how that there's that discrepancy there. Yeah. So yeah, I think there is a problem there, but we should also expand it a little bit further. So yeah,
I don't know, dude. It's crazy. We'll see how
the biggest thing to me was the getting bribed in this lawsuit to fucking lose football.
Oh yeah. That's a thing, dude. Like, if they have that evidence, which would be crazy if they try to like hide it as like a bonus or whatever, like just for the sake of like getting better draft picks and stuff and building a team. If that's their philosophy, that's because whether they're taking the money or not, like, or if they fight it, might be fired anyway. But
yeah. But if there's somebody good at sweeping shit under the rug, it's going to be Goodell in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. They're fucking probably trying to do that right now.
Yep.
I mean, think with the John Gruden thing. I mean, Gruden was the only one whose emails were brought up. So like, obviously there's other people involved in that saw that from back then. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, they're good at fucking hiding some shit for sure. So that'll be a thing to keep an eye on, see if he wins. I mean, this is probably something that's going to take, the courtroom and all that bullshit, these lawsuits work. It's probably going to take forever to get a settlement or whatever happens. So, but yeah, something to definitely be addressed and talked about. And I want to there's an episode of that pivot. So like I told you to watch that one with Taylor Lewan. I was laughing my ass off. I told you to watch the end where they're talking about the most pain they've ever been in. They were on I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall. They split off and they got their own shit. Now it's Ryan Clark that kind of like moderates it or whatever. But it's pretty good. But they had Hugh Jackson on. I didn't watch that episode yet, but I kind of want to watch that episode to see what he's, keeps claiming, see if it's in that realm of, Brian Flores. And if he really did, I mean, he did claim that Cleveland paid him to lose games, and he's not wrong when he says that team that the Browns had when he took it over didn't have good talent. He's not wrong. I mean, they didn't have shit. So, I don't know. It's a crazy thing.
I don't know that you had to pay Hugh Jackson to lose football games. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I don't know about that. Like, he was coming into a hard situation anyway, but yeah, so I want to listen to those podcasts and see kind of what those guys say. And they're on Busting. They're on Busting with the Boys this week, and so I just started it. I'm going to end up finishing it probably after we get off this podcast. But
honestly, man, good on Brian Flores for saying "fuck you." I'm not taking your money. I'm going to win football games because that shows high character, and that's that's part of being a good leader.
Yeah.
So
Especially you're one of 32 head coaches, and you might never get another shot at head coaching again. Like you could your career could be over if you suck it up.
Now his career might be over,
Yeah.
like just from doing this shit. So like, but it shows what kind of person he is as far as the character wise. So
it might be over in the NFL with all of this, but I guarantee you a college would come knocking. That wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see what happens, and something to keep an eye on. So what else? We might as well preview the Super Bowl. So Rams, Kansas City, your Super Bowl for 2022.
Rams and Bengals.
What's that?
Rams and Bengals.
What'd I say?
Kansas City.
Oh, my bad.
I know it's everyone's mind. It probably
that's what I thought it was going to be.
but no,
I didn't even catch it. I honestly didn't.
All good. It's because the Kansas City Chiefs have been to 4 straight AFC championship. They're hosting 4 straight AFC
probably why
games.
we're so used to it.
Yeah, it's just like you wake up in the morning, the sky is blue, oxygen keeps us alive, and the Kansas City Chiefs are fucking one of the best teams in the AFC. So that's just how it is.
Maybe we're part of the Mandela effect or something. Maybe it was supposed to be Kansas City in our fucking version, our universe. Right now, it's not. So, yeah, man. This is a weird game because, like, the one thing I'll say about the Rams is they seem to always blow leads, and we might have mentioned that in the last part. They came back being down this last game, but a couple times during the season they had some leads that they gave up. So either they get a big lead and kind of let the Bengals hang around, or it's just I feel like the Rams should beat the shit out of the Bengals. Even though I know the Bengals went on this run, right? It's been great. I don't think they're the best team in the AFC to be here right now, but they made it. So I get obviously kudos to them. But I feel like, either the Rams beat the shit out of them or the Rams let them hang around. I just think this is probably going to be the toughest defense they've played in the playoffs. So it was Raiders. Kansas City, and who else they beat? Texans. Well, the Titans kind of
Titans, yeah.
They kind of lost. Tannehill threw that fucking pick.
Let's just put it this way: like the Bengals are one. Ryan Tannehill being the quarterback that he is, making a shitty throw away from not being in this position, right? So, what? For me, I don't know about for you, but for me, like this boils down to matchups in the trenches.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like that, I think the Rams defensive line, not even just Aaron Donald, but like with their linebacker play and Von Miller, the defensive line of the Rams should have a field day with Cincinnati's offensive line. And I think that's going to be the biggest factor of this game.
If Jonathan Simmons, which I think is an excellent player for Tennessee, and an excellent defensive tackle, and I don't know that he gets enough love in the media or anything, but in NFL circles, I guarantee you he does. But if he can have a field day, I think Aaron Donald absolutely has a field day in this game. Mm-hmm. And then you factor in Von Miller as well. Here's the thing. The Bengals aren't playing the Tennessee Titans offense.
Right.
They're playing a lot more competent offense.
Yeah.
With I think a sharper football mind on the offensive side of the ball, and McVay. I don't know that Matt Stafford, assuming Matt Stafford plays his above average to elite level game that he can play, I just don't know that they can really hang around there. Now, if Matt Stafford goes back into the
like one of those bad games,
terrible Matt Stafford game, here we go. But I really, if Matt Stafford has just even one of his above average games, I can absolutely, I don't know how Cincy does it.
I think Matt Stafford with, you think about all those years with Detroit and now he's here. I don't think he's going to let that slip away, man. Not right now. I think, I don't know, dude. It's going to be, and then like the path that OBJ took to get there too. You know, getting traded so late in the season and still being a big part of this offense.
I think he's starting to hit his stride in that offense too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Good.
And like, it's gonna. I think in this game you might see. I think Odell's gonna score. It's kind of. I think it's gonna be a pick your poison in this one. You know, I mean, Cup's gonna get his. I think it does hurt that the Rams lost. Well, it wasn't. Well, Higbee banged his knee up, but I think he might actually play. I don't think it was bad enough to where he'd be out. I haven't seen an update, so yeah, man. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if the Bengals can keep that magic they've had in these playoffs. I mean, listen, Joe Burrow's. I mean, I'm jealous, man. He's a fucking dog. You know. Did you see? Because Ohio State fans kind of claim him a little bit still, even though like he went to LSU. Did you see like apparently he was
his
asked
community
about
college?
That?
Yeah, he's like he didn't know if he would be where he's at if he still played in that community college.
Yeah.
In Ohio.
Well, I didn't see that one. I just saw that. He's like, I don't know. He basically said, I don't know why Ohio State fans claim me. He's like, I'm LSU, you know, that kind of thing. Which I thought was funny. Because some Ohio State fans do kind of like do that, you know. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, it's a breath. Like you look at, I mean, Burrow's second year. I mean, really, you know, he got injured, you know, his rookie year, and he was out for a while. So Jamar's rookie year, you know, there's some young talent over there playing in a big fucking game. So we're gonna see if the pressure finally gets to them a little bit or what. But also, it is a home game for the Rams. Expensive fucking home game. I don't know how many Cincinnati peeps are going to be paying fucking $9,000 for a goddamn ticket to this game, but I don't know if you saw that. These tickets are fucking expensive.
The Super Bowl is
I mean, it's expensive as it is, but in LA, it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to the game? Is everybody like a millionaire that's going to this bitch? Or like, even if the Browns went to the Super Bowl, like, I don't think I'd ever pay $3,000 for a ticket. I'd watch that bitch on TV with some other fans, you know, friends and shit. Like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I agree.
If the Browns made a Super Bowl, I'd probably fly home and watch it with some peeps. And just,
I mean, I'd have to like figure out how to sell a kidney, like on the black market.
To go to the game,
to actually go.
Yeah.
So I mean that'd be what I would be doing.
Yeah. Or maybe sell some fucking semen. You know, probably get a couple grand from there, right? I don't know how that works, but I hear you can make some money. I don't know.
I feel like I'd have a fucking. That'd be a lot, dude. That'd be a lot.
I could see Bills fans fucking selling some shit to get Super Bowl tickets if they were that expensive. Be some creative things, body parts. I don't know.
Like honestly, you probably if you like bought out Lowe's every time they hit replenish their folding tables and the stock was low, and then like when the Super Bowl came around, be like, hey, I'm gonna upcharge on my folding tables that I've got. Like I'll sell them for $8 more a pop. Like you might be able to afford Super Bowl tickets, but it's just a corporate event now, man. You know what I mean? Like it's not for the people
like true fans, you know, like
you'd almost have to, like I said, you'd almost have to save up for like I'd almost have to say like I'm saving up now. Right. You know what I mean? And when the Bills finally make it when I'm 80, like, you know, in 50 years from now, I can go to that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, it's insane. I think the lowest ticket price I did see was, maybe I'm wrong. I think it was $3,000, but that's for like nosebleeds. But it might even be higher than that, dude. It's insane. So, but you know they're gonna fill the stadium somehow, so you know people are gonna go, I guess. But even Ocho Cinco, you know, Chad Johnson was talking about that. Be like, dude, how are like the average fan going to be able to go? They're not.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
So
it's a celebrity. It's a corporate. It's a, you know.
Yeah. It's but yeah, man. Do you have
not made for the peeps?
Do you have a score prediction for this game? Because you know I'm gonna bet that myself.
27-24.
Who? Rams?
Rams.
I'm gonna bet that, by the way. I'm gonna go Rams. Let's see here. What do I want? I'm going to go. 30-21. I didn't even look up the odds of that game yet. 30-21. Fuck it. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I'm excited this Sunday. I'm going. You got any Super Bowl plans or?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. Honestly, I might be going to hang out with Nate and Kristen and those guys. Will do like a little cookout and maybe just have a few people over.
Yeah. One of the guys I work with, his cousin has a Super Bowl party every year, and I was supposed to go the year. It's so funny. Like, I didn't realize that the 49ers, made the Super Bowl. What year was that? 2019. And I couldn't remember because my buddy was telling me about it. And I'm like, dude, why don't I remember that Super Bowl? And I'm like, oh, because I was supposed to go to the Super Bowl party and I got a little too tipsy the night before. I was hungover. I don't really remember that Super Bowl too much. So I'm gonna go this year. Should be a good time. And yeah, man, I hopefully be a good game. So we'll see. That's what I'm gonna be doing. Probably will be having some drinks. But then after that, I'm gonna go dry again for a while. Seems how I drank a little too much in Ohio there.
Yes, you did.
Happens every time. But yeah, man. So that's my plans this Sunday, and should be a good time. Be a good time. Yeah, we're winding down here. One more game left of this season, and then we officially are in the off season. I don't know how much we're gonna have to talk about coming up. There is a spring league this year. It's going to be the USFL. It's coming back. Got some familiar coaches in there. I think Jim Fisher's back. Todd Haley's a coach. There's 8 teams. I don't know yet of rosters if there's any ex-NFL guys that we might know. I'm not really sure, but I'm definitely gonna check it out, man. We get football in the spring. I'll watch it. I would have expected to still be somewhat competitive, and we'll see, man. More football is not a bad idea. So
I agree, and it's always good to cultivate and groom talent, and move forward with that.
There needs to be some kind of feeder system to the NFL where you can see these guys play outside of college that's still competitive, because the Canadian Football League has different roles, different size field. It's a little bit hard to translate, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then you got the XFL coming back in 2023. So we'll have 2 spring leagues essentially. But until then, we just got one, and we'll see if they'll be able to keep it going after one season, because these spring leagues seem to be kind of hard to maintain. But I'm excited for it. So, yeah, man, can't wait.
Sure.
And you can follow us. That'd be dope at AJXO Pod, and that's on Twitter and on the TikTok page. And yeah, man, dude, I keep forgetting, but we really need to get that website up so we can just start writing blogs. I had some ideas, and just writing our thoughts down, in a blog form would be fucking cool. I got to go back and mess around with that webpage. So hopefully I can get that up by next season for sure. But even earlier, when all the
even for draft prep.
See, draft prep for sure. We didn't really talk about it, but because the Senior Bowl was this weekend, but on the next, we'll save that for the next.
We can start diving into some mocks and things.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that next episode.
Post NFL season. So we'll get everybody prepped and ready to go, because football never stops, man. So you're right there. So
yeah. So after the Super Bowl next week, we'll talk about some Senior Bowl stuff, even though it happened this weekend. I got to go back and watch some stuff. And then we'll see some of the guys that stuck out, and maybe do our part 1 mock draft. We haven't done that yet, so we can do that. And put that together and go from there. So until then, well, you can follow me personally at Justin _Maxon.
Y'all can follow me at BillsFan53 on Twitter. That's B, the number 1 LLS Fan53. So definitely give me a follow.
Yeah. And yeah, man, we'll be back next week sometime. And until then, y'all be sweet.